It's unbelievable how little genuine encouragement many people need and how they had none. No one ever said to them and meant it. It's not okay for you to be a weak loser. It's not okay. And the reason it's not okay is because you could be way more than that. And it's a crime, an ethical crime, for you to allow all that necessary potential to go to waste. It hurts you, it hurts your family, it hurts the world. Really, really, it does. And people think, oh, okay, I get it. And they do get it because they know.
Life is a fight for territory. It's a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over. But greatness is a choice. It's not your destiny. It's a choice that you have to make every day.
All those excuses you got, they're just fear. They are just fear. That the only thing that is keeping you from identifying the things that aren't working and doing the work to move your life into alignment with who you're meant to be and the things that truly make you come alive. The only thing that's preventing you from doing that is you and your fears. Whether you're like any excuse that you have is just fear. You're afraid to try, you're afraid to fail, you're afraid you're too late, you're afraid of this, you're afraid of that. Now's not the right time, I don't have this, I don't have that, this person would be upset with me. All of it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of it not working out, fear of being disappointed, fear of disappointing others. That's what an excuse is. You're just managing fear.
Life is hard sometimes. Easy, it's not an option. But it's worth fighting. It's worth believing. It's worth giving yourself a chance. It's worth mustering yourself up, standing up inside yourself. It's worth fighting relentlessly, never giving up. It's worth it. You can do it. You can do it.
See, in life, you can go through life, you can come up with reasons or you can come up with results. You can come up with excuses or you can come up with achievements. You can go through life blaming or you can come up with solutions. The choice is in your hands, satisfaction or despair. We can choose that.
And on the other side is where you start to really start your journey. People think they start their journey because they're born. No, there's a lot of people in graves who have lived 100 years and have never started their real journey. Your real journey starts when you go outside that box and you start climbing mountains.
Everything that's happening to you is God is processing. Every difficult moment you're having, He just processing it. That's all He's doing. Everything you're going through is preparing you for what you ask God for. And if you need to be tough when you get to where you're going, then He gonna toughen you. If you gotta be more caring along the way, He gonna let you have some trials come your way that's gonna have to produce that in you.
If you want to know something about yourself, sit on your bed one night and say to yourself, you got to mean this, like you got to be desperate. This is no game, this. It's like, my life is not everything I want it to be, and perhaps it's not everything that I need it to be. And by need, I mean my life is so unbearable that the suffering that's attendant upon that is make me nihilistic, cynical, bitter, resentful, homicidal, genocidal, unable to have a good relationship, prone to punish people for their virtues because of my jealousy, driving the proclivity to see evil everywhere except within my own heart. Like, these are problems, man. And you ask yourself, you sit on the bed and say, okay, man, I'm ready to learn something. Like, what's one thing I'm doing wrong that I know I'm doing wrong that I could fix, that I would fix? It's like, you meditate on that, you'll get an answer. And it won't be one you want, but it'll be the necessary one. You know, and it's often something that will point you to small things. So Carl Jung said, people in the modern world don't see God because they don't look low enough. And so imagine you're in your messy bedroom you know, and you're sitting on the edge of the bed trying to have an honest dialogue with yourself. And the little voice says, you know, it's pretty disgusting in here. And you think, well, I'm way above such trivial niceties as organizing my room. It's like, well, that's pride. That's arrogance. If you're above organizing what's actually yours, how in the world are you ever going to organize anything else? And so you get on your knees and you think, well, it's time to, you know, take a brush to the toilet. And maybe that's where you start. And that works. Like, that works. You start making those micro improvements, like real micro improvements, real on the ground, actual micro improvements to things you know that are wrong, you'll improve unbelievably rapidly.
This is not a problem. It is a challenge. Persist through this challenge. On the other side is your problem. Do not let your pain go to waste. Those tears meant something. They were created to make you feel something. Something that will snap you out of this sorry state. Get up. Enough is enough. Get up.
People who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. Some people don't want to start exercising because they're afraid that others will laugh at their inability to perform a push-up or run for more than 60 seconds without losing their breath. They might be afraid that their friends will talk behind their backs, taking bets when they're going to fail. Thousands of people all over the world dream of entrepreneurship, but are afraid to take the first step because if their business fails, their ego will suffer too hard of a blow. Self-discipline isn't only about forcing yourself to do things that are unpleasant for the sake of long-term goals. It's also about resisting the temptation to stay mediocre in order to avoid criticism. True, staying in your comfort zone is safe and there's little criticism you'll encounter along the way. However, there's a high price associated with this choice. You won't ever get to change your current situation over the long term. How important is it really that some unintelligent me-head smirks at you at the gym when you're struggling to complete a set of push-ups? Is the momentary pain of that really greater than the pain of regret when you realize that another year has passed without you acting on your goals? You have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly, smilingly, non-apologetically, to say no to other things. And the way to do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside. Without the bigger yes burning inside of you, there's no way you'll continue making the uncomfortable choices over the long term for the sake of your goal. The primary reason why I stuck to entrepreneurship despite countless failures was my intention to help my parents build a house in the countryside. It was their dream, and by extension, my dream. This big yes had been burning inside me no matter what was happening with my business. Even after another big defeat, I still knew that I would never lay down my arms in the fight to become able to give them their dream. If you have such a strong yes inside you, you'll also refuse to surrender the fight to achieve your dream. Your burning yes will also help you pinpoint your priorities and disregard distractions. For example, if you decided to save money for the future education of your child, saying no to spending money on things you'd like to have but don't need would be much easier than without such a powerful motivator. You would be focused on the long view of where you wanted to be when your child was older. If your biggest dream in life is to become a surgeon, you won't feel apprehensive about declining an invitation for a party because you want to prepare yourself for an important exam. The yes burning inside you would be stronger than the fear of missing out on a few hours spent drinking with your friends. Granted, as we've already discussed, there should be some balance in everything, but generally speaking, you'll do well if you can discover a burning reason why you want to accomplish a given dream and unapologetically say no to anything that might threaten your chances of making it come true.
We all have goals that we want to achieve in our lives. These goals may include learning a new language, eating healthier and losing weight, becoming a better parent, saving more money, and so on. It can be easy to assume that the gap between where you are now and where you want to be in the future is caused by a lack of knowledge. This is why we buy courses on how to start a business or how to lose weight fast or how to learn a new language in 3 months. We assume that if we knew about a better strategy, then we would get better results. We believe that a new result requires new knowledge. What I'm starting to realize, however, is that new knowledge does not necessarily drive new results. In fact, learning something new can actually be a waste of time if your goal is to make progress and not simply gain additional knowledge. It all comes down to the difference between learning and practicing. When we practice something, we are involved in the deliberate repetition of a process with the intention of reaching a specific goal. The words deliberate and intention are key here because they define the difference between actively practicing something and passively learning it. Learning something new and practicing something new may seem very similar, but these two methods can have profoundly different results. Here are some additional ways to think about the difference. Let's say your goal is to get stronger and more fit. You can research the best instructions on bench press technique. But the only way to build strength is to practice lifting weights. Let's say your goal is to grow your startup. You can learn about the best way to make a sales pitch. But the only way to actually land customers is to practice making sales calls. Let's say your goal is to write a book. You can talk to a best-selling author about writing. But the only way to become a better writer is to practice publishing consistently. Passive learning creates knowledge. Active practice creates skill. Passive learning can be a crutch that supports inaction. In many cases, learning is actually a way to avoid taking action on the goals and interests that we say are important to us. For example, let's say you want to learn a foreign language. Reading a book on how to learn a foreign language quickly allows you to feel like you are making progress. Hey, I'm figuring out the best way to do this. Of course, you're not actually practicing the action that would deliver your desired outcome, speaking the foreign language. In situations like this one, we often claim that we are preparing or researching the best method, but these rationalizations allow us to feel like we are moving forward when we are merely spinning our wheels. We make the mistake of being in motion rather than taking action. Learning is valuable until it becomes a form of procrastination. Practice is learning, but learning is not practice. Passive learning is not a form of practice because although you gain new knowledge, you are not discovering how to apply that knowledge. Active practice, meanwhile, is one of the greatest forms of learning because the mistakes you make while practicing reveal important insight. Even more important, practice is the only way to make a meaningful contribution with your knowledge. You can watch a course about how to build a business or read an article about a terrible disaster in a developing nation, but that knowledge is unproductive unless you actually launch your business or donate to those in need. Learning by itself can be valuable for you, but if you want to be valuable to others, then you have to express your knowledge in some way. Progress is a natural result of staying focused on the process of doing anything. The state of your life right now is a result of the habits and beliefs that you have been practicing each day. When you realize this and begin to direct your focus toward practicing better habits day in and day out, continual progress will be the logical outcome. It is not the things we learn nor the dreams we envision that determines our results, but rather that habits that we practice each day. Fall in love with boredom and focus your energy on the process, not the product. Is passive learning useless? Of course not. In many cases, learning for the sake of learning can be a beautiful thing. Not to mention that soaking up new information can help you make more informed decisions when you do decide to take action. That said, the main point of this article is that learning by itself does not lead to progress. We often hide behind information and use learning as an excuse to delay the more difficult and more important choice of actually doing something. Spend less time passively learning and more time actively practicing. Stop thinking and start doing.